Okay. Uh, okay. So we were talking about autocannon, where we will do a benchmarking test on our server. Yesterday we created a server, right? And I was telling you that we should do a test of this server. How many requests in 10 seconds or 30 seconds or 1 minute will this server be able to process? Okay. For this, we are going to use autocannon, which is a benchmarking CLI tool, which is written in Node JavaScript only with Node.js. So the way we use it is npx autocannon, and then we pass a URL. Now this URL that I'm passing, it is going to give us an error only because there is no endpoint defined on this URL. So there is no request handler defined for this endpoint. So I'm just going to say slash employee slash all. Okay. So we will do benchmarking with this, right? So this will send concurrent request to this URL. Okay. And it will check how many request will our server be able to process in 10 seconds. Okay. So these are the statistics. 99% of the request, they are taking 2 seconds delay. Two, not seconds, 2 milliseconds, which is like 1 millisecond is 1000 part of the part of 1 second. So since this is running locally, that's why we are getting this very small very small delay latency. Otherwise, if we host this, there will be some network call and DNS will be there and all of that. So it will take some time, right? It will show more latency there. Maximum delay was 10 seconds. Maximum latency was 10 milliseconds. And if you want to check here, then you will see that on average, our server was able to respond to 11,271 requests per second. Okay, that is the capacity as we can hold, we can respond to with our server. Okay, so that means uh, on average we can process around 11,000 requests per second. Right now, these are very lightweight requests. Here we are just reading the data from a file and sending it in the response. But you can see uh, this is a very simple read operation. Okay, so this is how we do benchmarking of our server. Now, if you wanted to do benchmarking of, let's say, Google, okay, the Google homepage, if you want to do benchmarking of this, you can easily do that as well. But I think there will be some limitations like on IP address as well. Google will block too many requests from one IP address. So let's do this and see what we get. Okay. So on average, it is 2 seconds. So 1000, sorry, on average it is 923 milliseconds, which is uh, uh, close to 1 second. Okay. And on average, it can serve 10 requests per second, right? 10 requests per second. Now, this is not accurate because we know Google is serving billions of requests per second, but this is just because of, if we try to run benchmarking on Google with this tool. Basically, Google has some optimizations. This will not give accurate results, but still you can test any link with this. Okay, any endpoint. Okay, just give me a second. I'll be right back. There is somebody at the door. Okay, so Is there any question about benchmarking? If you have to benchmark your server, you can easily do that with AutoCannon, right? No questions? Cool. Then let's move to the next uh next section, and this is going to be middlewares. Okay. Just to see middleware ecosystem. Let's rename this. Can we vary the time range? Yes, you can vary the time range. You just have to go and see the uses of this command line tool, CLI tool, and with different flags, you can change the uh, number of requests and all that. Different settings are there. Okay. Okay, there are no questions. So let's move on with the next section, which is going to be about middlewares uh, in Express. So, so first of all, what is a middleware? So anybody knows what is a middleware? Can anybody answer? You have you used middlewares in React? Connecting between two parts. Yes. Request and response के बीच का time. No, it's not time. It's some action between, let's say, two actions, right? So you can say if there is an action one, and after that you go to action two, and this is a logical step. But if you introduce some other step, which is the middleware step, uh, this step we call middleware. And it's not just it's not just we why don't we call it action 2 and then action 3? It's because uh, this middleware is common for multi different types of steps, right? Action A, action B, and it could be action X, action Y. So this middleware is common for is a common step between different chain of actions. Okay, clear? Why we call this middleware? Because let me explain with the drawing. Oh, they've changed something here. Cool, cool. Right. So this is our middleware. This is going to be our middleware. Okay. Let's zoom in a little bit. So this is going to be a middleware. Now it's going to be common for different actions. So action 1 and action 2, action A, action B, just to give you a visualization here. If we have action 1 and action 2, but in between we want to perform some other action. Okay. Sorry, like this. Cool. So this middleware action will be performed after action 1 and before action 2. Similarly, this middleware action will be same middleware action will be performed after action A, action B. Now, why are we talking about middlewares for servers? Because sometimes I'm just going to create a server first and then tell you. Let's create a server. First of all, we need to create an npm project, and let me install Express. Okay, so we have app.get simple route request response, and then we say response.send hello world, and app.listen 3000. Okay, if we do this, our server will be listening and we can make request and we get hello world. And then we can define uh, another request, say app dot get hello, not hello, by so here we get okay, I have to restart the server. Instead I'm just going to use nodemon, so we get by. Right now these are ones what do we call action 1? Action 1 is when we get a request. So we can get a request at this point, or we can get a request for this endpoint. And this action 2 is when we when we process the request. Okay. So say sending the response as hello world. So for action 1, which is get request, then the action 2 is send hello world. Okay. This is action 1 when we get a request, and this is action 2 when we send a response. Now, what if we want to perform some action here? So another action could be when we get a request for buy, and the action B will be sending buy as a response. So maybe we may want to perform some action for this as well, and the same action that we want to perform for this could be same here. Okay, so one example of what action we want to perform here could be, let's say we want to log the request, right? So let's just say we want to log the request, and we will pass the request here. We will say new date request dot method and request dot url. Okay, now we want to perform this action for all type of requests we get, right? Now one thing that we can do is we can say log request, and we can copy this across all request handlers, right? So that if we get any request, we execute this action, right? So we execute this action, right? No matter we can copy this function, we can call this function in all our request handlers. Okay. Clear? Is this clear what we are trying to achieve? we are trying to log this request for every request handler. Now, if I have, let's say, 30 request handlers, I will have to copy this, right? Are you able to follow me? Now here, the middleware action is logging of request. This is one example. Now, is this the best way to do this? So Express knows that people would want to do things like this. So they have provided a way to do this in a cleaner manner. And that cleaner manner is, we say uh, we say app.use, and we pass some function here, and that function will be uh, executed before every request. Okay, before every request handler is processed. So uh, this is how we pass. Okay, sorry, this should not be commented. Instead of doing this, now we just say app.use, and this will be executed before every request handler. Is this clear? I mean, we are going to test this. Is this working fine or not? But do you understand what we are trying to do? We are trying to just replace this duplicacy into a single with a single line. Krishna, you don't understand what we are trying to do? Am I not audible? Okay. Some are saying I am audible. Krishna, could be an issue with your internet, maybe. Okay. But uh, people who are able to follow me, any questions so far? Do you understand what we are doing? Okay. So this log request function is a function or is an action that we want to perform for all the requests. Now there is one way to do this is in all the request handlers, we call this function manually. That is one approach. Another approach that we get from Express is that instead of doing this, we should do something like this so that it will be uh, it will be executed automatically before all the requests. Okay, clear? Now let's test this if this is working fine or not. Okay, so I have my console here, terminal here. I'm just going to open the network tab, and I'm going to reload this, right? So uh, now it is still pending. We are not getting the response. But here, if you see, this is uh, this is logged. Okay, this function is working. And in another tab, I'm going to just say buy. Okay, and that is also logged. But both are still pending. This is still pending, and this is also still pending. We are not getting response. I can make another request, and you will see here, right? I can make another request. Now we are not even getting any logs. Okay, so there is something wrong here. Now we have missed one thing, and I have deliberately left that part. Is in the middle. This is called a middleware function, by the way. So this is a middleware function. Uh, this is going to be executed by express. We are not going to execute this. Express is going to execute this, and express will pass the request and request object. But with request object, it also passes these things: request, response, and the third parameter, which is called next. Now, next is a function, and we have to call this function once we have uh, done the once we have executed the middleware logic. So with middleware logic, we should also call this next function. This next function is the queue, uh, is the hint for express. So so that middleware logic is complete, you can pass the control to the request handler. So we were not getting control to the request handler earlier, but because we were not calling next function.